everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Card Talk, a podcast where we spend just a little bit of time talking about cards from Lord of the Rings card game in February. I'm your host, Dave Walsh.
And I'm Grant Thompson, not along for the ride.
And I'm Ted Bannock, and I very much enjoy talking about people's favorite cards and people's best cards in our Superlative February series.
Is that true, Ted?
It is actually, yeah. These we've had some really great episodes overall, like really memorable episodes. But I think the content that we're putting out, David, I think this is your baby here. This survey that you put out.
So my baby.
Yeah,
kind of.
Really, I wanna look at your baby.
You want to look at my baby? Can we talk about the patrons before we look at my baby?
We can, and I think in conjunction with the Superlative February, you are now going to read the Patreon list in order of your favorite from, is what we discussed in the show notes, from your most favorite to least favorite. So go ahead.
Okay. So, in order from my most favorite patrons to my least favorite patrons. Okay, so we have 28 patrons. So it's a 28. Actually, we have 29 patrons, and it's a 28-way tie for first place. Okay, and so in reverse alphabetical order by first name, I will go, or by pledge by Patreon name. You ready? Okay, so the first 28 that are all tied. You ready? Vardane, Sean, Scott, Russ, Robert, Reagan, Phil, Peter, Niall, Dominic, Mike, Matt, Lou, Kyle, Justin, Joshua, Joseph, Joe, Jason, James, Jake, Edmund, David, Daniel, Carl, Brandon, Alex. And the 29th patron, who's bottom on the list, is Ted Bannock. He's my least favorite of them all.
Yeah, well,
but
that's fair.
If you want to be on the list of patrons and you think what we're doing here is pretty cool, and you feel like you want to give anywhere from, $1 on up, feel free to join us here at. I usually point like this. I'm going to point like this. Join us here at Card Talk. Join us here at patreon.com/cardtalk2018. And you can see our reward tiers, and you can see that we are going to give away some pretty cool swag for anybody who's at the $5 a month and up level. We plan on giving swag out to everybody at every level, but, we just wanted to make sure that we get the $5 and up folk. And Ted is only giving 50 cents a month, so he doesn't get any swag because we don't like him.
I can't even call myself Ready Teddy. So, if I do, I get super mad.
I know, he gets angry at himself. It's tragic. You should watch this.
I gotta increase my tier.
But as you know, we are knee-deep in our Superlative February episode. So every year we put out an extravaganza month, and we started in 2019 with Sylvan February, where we just talked about Sylvans nonstop for February. And then last year we did Couples February. So if you actually want to get a chance to see my children, you can see them from last year's Couple February. Both my kids came on the show. And then this year we're doing superlatives. We're doing the best and the worst of the game. And we did this by putting out a survey. We thought the best thing to do to honor the game kind of going on hiatus was to give this massive survey so that people can reflect on the game, talk about things that they love, things they didn't like, things they would change, things that they would keep the same, things that were just awesome, things, cards that were cool, cards that weren't so cool. And it was amazing. We had 130 responses. It was totally amazing. So we owe it all to the community. And as a special thank you for filling out the survey, we're going to give away. We're giving away stuff every time a show drops. So if you filled out the survey, or if you're a patron, and filled out the survey, you get an entry into the thing. So if you're a patron and you filled out the survey, you got 2 entries. And then if you are filled out the survey, you got an entry. If you didn't fill out the survey but are a patron, you got 1 entry. And whatever, all of those people get put in the prizelator, and your name will get drawn out of the hat, hopefully, and you get to win a prize. That said, we are taking every week in February and talking about a different sphere and what everybody's favorites and least favorites are. And this week is leadership. We've already talked about leadership heroes and leadership allies on the previous 2 episodes this month, or this week. So let's get right into talking about leadership attachments and leadership events. So, okay. I normally give you guys a little bit of latitude to talk about bests and favorites. Okay, like which one do you want to do? So first of all, we're going to do attachments. Okay, we'll do attachments first. Ted's already getting his
whatever
answer.
question you're going to ask me, that's the answer.
Yeah. So here's what I'm going to say: is there was literally only four attachments that made the list for best attachments in the leadership sphere.
Are all 4 of them Steward of Gondor?
No.
Wow.
So by far and away, normally I'd go in and I'd play this big long thing, and I would, like, you guys would guess which the best is, and you'd rack your brain. It'd be like crazy, and you'd be like, I don't know. So, but Ted, you're right. Steward of Gondor, by far and away, out of every category that we had, this was the biggest blowout of all time. Okay, 110 people said that Steward of Gondor is the best leadership attachment. Okay, and that's I would say that that's not really a surprise at all. Nothing surprising about that. But here's the challenge. There's 3 others that made the list. And I will tell you,
called The Shadow of Steward of Gondor.
Right. And that shadow is long, my friend, because I'm looking at things that only got 2 votes as best attachment.
God.
So,
and bearing in mind there is 50 plus other attachments.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That few cards were named, considering how many there just are. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll say
Who's
that
taking first stab?
Heir of Mardil did not make the list.
Okay.
Right. In Service of the Steward did not make the list. Rod of the Steward did not make the list. Okay. Anyways, those are 3 attachments that didn't make the best attachment list.
Okay.
So what do you think? I'll give you a couple. I'll give you a couple of guesses. Ted, you can make your guesses first, and then Grant, you can go off of him. You seem to be better at this, Grant, than Ted, because Ted picks these. Ted picks these obscure cards that nobody's ever heard of.
Apparently.
Yeah, but Ted picks the cards that need some love by the community.
He does.
All right. An custodian, anybody?
Yes, an custodian. Okay, so give me 2 that you think may have made the list other than Steward of Gondor.
All right. Leadership does have some really stellar attachments, though, and one of the ones up there for best attachments is going to be Armored Destrier.
That made the list. One person said Armored
think.
Destrier. No, you know what person thinks.
I would have agreed with that. I would have picked that myself.
Okay. I was going to say that I have to look up one of these. I think I know what this does, but I'm not sure.
I am going to also say Sword That Was Broken.
Oh, Ted! Ted, do you want to go for the trifecta? That is 2 people said Sword That Was Broken.
Okay. Wow. All right. So can I name them all is the question, right? So
Clean sweep.
Okay. All right. The last one is going to be a challenge. I think those 2 were pretty obvious. And because a lot of the ones that leadership has, they fall into archetypes.
Right.
You know, there's ones for Gondor, ones for Sylvans, there's ones for dwarves. And it's going to be tough because it's kind of think of like, well, which ones of those are the most popular? I am going to go with I'm going to go with a newer card because it seems to be a popular archetype.
You're wrong.
And I'm going to say the Red Book of Westmarch.
The Red Book of Westmarch made it on the list of a favorite. One person said it was the favorite, but this is not a newer card that made it on the long shadow of the Steward of Gondor. So,
all right, I'll be happy with my 2. Maybe Grant can pick up my slack and guess
Grant,
the last
what's the last one?
I'm going to say Narvi's Belt. People love their dwarves.
They do, but that didn't make the list. There was a couple people who put that. There was one person that put that on their favorite list. So.
Okay, well, if it's not Narvi's Belt, let's have a look.
Yeah, because a lot of leadership, a lot of them are specific. A lot of attachments.
Yeah, there's a lot of like archetype specific attachments.
Yeah.
I'm going to say
this one is not archetype specific. I'll tell you that much.
Oh, okay. I have one other guess then.
Okay.
But I'll let
Grant let Grant.
I'm going to say the Dunedain Mark.
It was not the Dunedain Mark.
Okay.
Teddy?
Well, you said it was not new though, right? You said it wasn't a new card.
It wasn't new.
Oh, because my next 2 guesses are both new.
Well, I guess it's all in your frame of mind. If you have only the core set, this is a new card. If you have more than just the core set, it's not a new card.
Oh.
Okay.
I mean, okay.
Give us the cycle it's from.
Khazad-dûm. The Dwaro Delph cycle.
Okay, so that narrows it down quite a bit. So
yeah, that's there's only like 4 leadership attachments that were that were given out there.
Hardy leadership.
Nope.
Okay, good.
Well, if we're just looking at the Dwardalf cycle, there was only 3 leadership attachments given in the Dwardalf cycle, and Ted's already said 2 of them. The other one was Path of Need.
There it is. That's it. Path of Need.
So, wow. I would not have guessed that.
No, neither would I.
4 costs to not exhaust. That's pretty good.
Yeah. It's a global effect which can be strong, but it is pricey and you can only have 1 in your deck.
Right.
Not to say that it's not worth playing that one because it can make a big difference in quite a few games.
Oh, yeah.
But wow, okay, I'm shocked by that one. Cool.
Okay. So, as much as Steward of Gondor was everybody's vote for best attachment, I mean, by far and away, 110 people. Like, when Éowyn was considered the best tactics hero, it wasn't even, it was closer than that, between Éowyn and Boromir. This is like, there's not anything even close to Steward of Gondor. But as much as Steward of Gondor dominated the best, of course, Steward took the highest with the favorite, but there was a lot of like spreading out of the favorites. So same format here. What do you think people's favorites were? Steward only got 33 favorites. So I think that's an indication that the community realizes that there is a difference between favorite and best. Right. Ted, I think on a previous episode you said, if some people some people believe that their favorite cards are the best cards in the game, and that's fine. But for some people, favorite doesn't necessarily mean best. Favorite means which is the most fun to play, what creates the most interesting situations to play, and things like that. So we'll go back and forth twice to see if you guys can.
Yeah, we'll take a couple.
Yeah, some stabs at some favorites. So, Ted, you went first last time. You went for the trifecta. So, Grant, favorite attachments, and Steward's already there. It is number 1. Steward is number 1 in terms of favorites. So.
I'd say Armored Destrier.
Armored Destrier is number 2. 27 people like Armored Destrier.
Yep. I'd also say possibly Steed of the North.
Steed of the North is not on the list. Okay. Ted, what's
given people's love for Sylvans, I'm going to go with the Sylvan King.
Elven King did not make the list.
Or Elven King, excuse
No, I
me.
know. I knew what you meant. So that's
Yep, the
Elven
Elven
King.
King.
Elven King did not make the
Then
list.
Ancestral Armor.
Did not make the list. I'm sure there was
Wow.
like one person who said. I think Ancestral Armor
Right.
especially was like one person. But
Okay.
yeah, that's what happens. And I say this every time with these episodes is that the favorites. Because it's so you get like one person says it, and that's cool. Everybody can have their favorite. It's an opinion question, but it just didn't make the list. So
King Under the Mountain.
nope, not make the list.
Okay, let's hear it, David.
You ready? Sword That Was Broken was 6 people. Cram made the list.
Hey, we got an episode on that one too.
I know. That was good. That was the one where I blew up Grant had a tooth pulled. And so Ted and I did a meta show about Cram because it was the food show. We were like, Grant can't eat, so Ted is gonna. Anyways, so we did Cram. You guys
Plus,
are
when you
completely
tell
not reacting.
You can tell David to cram it up his cram hole if you want.
Yeah, I think you said that on the show. You can cram it in your cram hole. And then Dunedain Warning was also on that list.
Yep.
And then there was a couple of threes. Olorien was 3 people said Olorien was really good. But the top 2 was Steward and Destrier, like by far and away.
Yeah, those are just generically good attachments. But yeah, there's a lot of archetype specific ones too. But that's because the leadership heroes are in those spheres. You have Dane and you have Celeborn, and so it makes sense.
Right. Okay, so now we'll go to events.
Leadership events.
And so
Okay, sneak attack.
sneak attack. just like Ted was going for Stewart. Okay,
And beat me to it. I'm going to give that one to him.
okay, so sneak attack made it top of both of the lists, but it was really funny because it was very much like Steward of Gondor. Sneak attack was the best event, and it was 75 people said that sneak attack was the best event. And you know what? I mean, how can you go wrong with sneak attack? It literally, like, sneak attack Gandalf to this day is still like the strongest and still really fun combo to pull out. Like,
yeah,
hands down, it's so much fun to play.
Yeah, and sneak attack only got more targets as the pool got bigger.
Right. So
Sneak attack Bjorn.
sneak attack Beorn, that's really good. Yep, because you can use his ability, and then you can choose to put him back in your deck instead of your hand. Like, there's lots of. I don't know why you'd want to put him back in your. You can use his ability and put him back in your hand. And I don't know why you'd want to use his ability and put him back in your deck, but you have that option. That's what you get to do. But do you want to do best or favorite? Where do you want to go in terms of events?
We'll mix it up and we'll start with the bestest.
Okay, there's only 3 on the list. Sneak attack was huge, but then there's 2 others. So, Grant, if you had to guess, after sneak attack, what's the best event? Leadership. And I was not surprised by this one.
Best event after sneak attack. That's interesting.
It's not even interesting. It's just very good.
There's so many events.
I know. A lot of them are very good.
Exactly. Fiend voices.
No. Ted?
I'm gonna go with Grim Resolve.
That one is also very good, but that's not right.
Ooh, okay.
Do you have another very good one that you want to?
Yeah, Timely 8 is gonna be up there if you.
Nope.
No.
Best events.
Okay.
So there's sneak attack, which is the best, and then probably the next level below best is probably the very good events. So what's the?
Where is it?
I will throw my Legacy at Numenor.
Actually, Legacy of Numenor is the third one on the list. That's really good because I wasn't expecting Legacy of Numenor to make it. That Doomed 4 is really crazy. And that was actually one of the first episodes that you did with us, Ted.
Oh, is Legacy Numenor? Aw.
A very good tale.
Yeah. Thank you. I kept saying a very good one. There's a very good one. All the listeners out there are probably screaming at their devices.
Yeah, they're yelling at us. I
can't believe a very
good
good
job.
tale.
I can't believe I missed that one, actually. That would, duh.
Which is funny because a very good tale, and Grant, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think a very good tale comes from that when Beorn, when the dwarves and the Hobbit get into Beorn's homestead, and he's like talking to Gandalf and said, "This must be a very good tale if you have these dwarves coming into my place," or something like that.
Basically,
yeah, and that's what the picture is. I think it's Gandalf and Beorn talking.
Yep.
Right. And so it's interesting. That's why you get to exhaust two to get two. That's just super thematic to me. So you get to exhaust 2 allies to bring 2 allies in, which is exactly what happened in the books. They came in 2 by 2. Okay.
Except for at the end where...
Except Bomber. Bomber counts for 2, though.
Yeah, but it was Bomber and 2 others. I think the last...
Oh, because Bomber didn't want to come in by himself.
On his own.
Yeah, so...
You should be able to exhaust Bomber ally and have him count as the 2.
As the 2.
Yeah, but then you're only getting... So do you count them as, like, 3 cost for twice, or do you just count them as 3 cost for 1?
Yeah, double his cost.
All right, double his cost would be fine.
The hero version has that ability, but I think I'd house rule it where if you exhaust ally Bomber to play a very good tale, I will let you be his only exhaust.
Maybe it doesn't even matter because you can because it's up to 2 allies. You don't have to play the second one, so maybe that's the penalty.
You're right. No, it's exhaust 2.
No, you have to exhaust 2, but you bring into play
2.
Up to 2. You don't have to put 2 into
up to 2 allies discarded by this effect.
Right.
Yeah,
under your control.
I mean that could be
allies cannot exceed the total cost of allies exhausted.
That card it's card draw and resource acceleration all into one, right? And it only multiplies by the amount of resources you already put into it. So if you got... Most people play 2 cost allies to pay for this, and you are getting 4 if you exhaust them, you're getting 4 resources or allies on the table that came from your deck.
Right.
So you drew 2 cards and got 4 resources.
Yeah.
For exhausting 2 of your allies.
Yeah, I think there's one downside, and the downside of this card is you have to discard those 5 cards.
Yeah, they're not
like
shuffled.
They don't
back
go
in.
shuffled, but you don't search. You discard them and then pull 2 out.
Yeah, but you've got to shuffle your deck, so you doing any sort of manipulation you can't actually do.
Right.
Because you exhaust and then you shuffle your deck and then you discard the top 5. So Imladra Stargazer or Galadriel to rearrange the top 5 cards of your deck doesn't actually work.
Right. The other thing about it is just if you're a new player and you haven't figured out why a very good tale is amazing, just remember that the refresh phase where you ready all your characters is the last phase of the round. So you can ready Gandalf in the refresh phase, and then you can exhaust Gandalf and play a very good tale during the refresh phase, and then pull Gandalf, and then discard Gandalf from play. So you could get double duty out of Gandalf as one of your allies that you can exhaust, and he's worth 5, and it's great. So so that's a little trick with a very good tale. And the Ranger of Ranger of Cardolan is also a really good option with that because you get to do the same thing.
Feely and Keely are also 2 very good options because you pay for one, that brings in the other one. So, and their stat line isn't the best. So, exhausting 6 cost worth of average allies, you then get to pull in, say, something more substantial, like, say, Faramir. and
Sure.
a Westfold Traveler.
Right. Yeah, I mean, and the chances that you're gonna like, I feel like the limit for a very good tale is like 6. If you can exhaust 6 resources worth of allies somehow, then you're probably going to be able to get most of your. You're probably going to hit and be able to put both of the allies that you're going to get out. I can't guarantee it, but I feel like that's when I've played a very good tale. I feel like 6 is like the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know what? Ally helps you get to the highest printed cost threshold for that to put more allies into play out of your deck. A certain Guardian.
Are you talking about the
Citadel
Custodian?
Custodian.
That's what I meant.
He doesn't even remember.
He doesn't
the name of
even.
the card.
Sorry, Ted. Doesn't work. Boo.
I can't remember names for apparently
no,
any
I
of the
know.
leadership cards.
Yeah. Well.
Citadel Custodian. Just saying, he costs 5, and if you play him for 1 because of his ability, seems like a good deal. Just saying.
It does. I will admit that's a pretty good deal.
Yes, but by the time he's down to 1, does the 2 extra allies that come off him actually matter at that point?
100%, dude. Yeah, leadership is all about swarm. I feel like more than any other sphere, they use these events to muster allies and generate resources, just put bodies on the table.
Yeah.
It's 100%.
Okay, so here's what you have to do. You guys shouted out all the very good the very good events. I kept saying you don't want the best ones. You just want the very good ones. And it's you guys were so into it that you just completely went over your head. But now in terms of favorites. Okay, so the best events, let me just recap because we've talked about the top 3. So Sneak Attack by far and away. But then a very good tale was second. So Sneak Attack 75, a very good tale with 13, and then Legacy of Numenor with 5. So now, what about favorite events? Sneak Attack was number 1.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a lot of crossover we've noticed from... I think leadership is going to... I said it before in the other episodes. They're going to have a lot of crossover between best and favorite because they're good effects that are fun to trigger.
Yeah. So what's on that list?
I'll take a stab. I think Man the Walls.
Man the Walls was mentioned, but it didn't make this list of top 5.
Yeah, I like Man the Walls. It's fun to play in multiplayer. It's sort of fun to grant that benefit to other players.
Yep, people love you for it.
Campfire Tales.
Campfire Tales was mentioned, but didn't make the list. You guys have mentioned the other 4.
Timely Aid.
Timely Aid is number 3 on the list. Yep.
Grim Resolve.
Grim Resolve was mentioned, but didn't make the list.
Okay, so the other 2 cards are probably...
One's very good.
tale.
Yeah, one was a very good tale. And then there's 2 more at the bottom.
A very powerful leadership event, even though it's restrictive, is Strength of Arms.
That was mentioned, but didn't make this list.
On there.
Yeah. There's the restricted. I'll just give them to you because we want to.
Because we're terrible at this game.
Yeah, you were terrible at this guessing game. Feign Voices, I think, Ted, you said when it was best event.
I think Grant mentioned it, yeah.
Yeah, okay. And then Unlikely Friendship. Because that one's really good when you're playing those specific, with a Sylvan and a dwarf.
Yeah, well, and it's fun, too, because people, obviously, there's the whole Gimli Legolas thing. And you can even mix that up, right? You can have leadership Gimli with tactics like List, but you can also do it with like Spirit Dane and like Celeborn.
Right. You don't have to use those. You don't have to use the. What am I trying to say? The cannon to trigger it.
Yeah, right. You could have like leadership Dane and. I was going to say Merlin, but that'd be a terrible choice if you're not. Argalad, right?
Right. Yeah, you can do all sorts of weird things. It's nice because it's a card that can open up a lot of different combinations. Right.
Yeah, well, it's a free resource, and then you get to replace it. You're like, okay, it just instantly turns into a resource, and then you draw another card.
Right. I think, Grant, you've played this in a 300s deck where you had Legolas and Balin, because
Yep.
Balin Hero can cancel shadow effects and stuff, and Legolas is a silver.
Oh, that's great. And then you put a resource on Balin to trigger his ability.
I actually don't generally speaking, I've got the resource free on Balin, but the deck that he's talking about is my Grimbiorn 300s deck with Balin and Legolas. So I just put the resource on Grimbiorn to trigger his ability to strike back.
Right.
And just start killing things. But yes, Balin is also a good target for Unlikely Friendship for that resource to cancel shadows.
So that's so it's interesting. What I found about this is that about when I say this, what I found about the doing this survey is just, like when I do the show and when I talk to you guys, like we get these ideas, but what I see is the community just has this whole breadth of knowledge that is just different and probably better than my own. Like it's just in the last episode when we talked about Galadriel Ally, like now I really want to use Galadriel Ally in a deck to see how really, not that I haven't used her, but like I haven't used her in any sort of memorable way. Now I want to go back and use her and be like, hey, is she really somebody that fun to play with? Is
Sam a free Red Book of Westmarch? She can be like, here you go.
I know. Well, I thought about that. So and so just seeing how the community thinks about the game is just, that's the whole reason why this happened, is because the community is really what makes the game. Like the game is such a communal game, even if you're playing solo, but like the forums and all those, like it's just, and it's awesome to see how diverse the community is, and they're thinking about how to put together decks and how their favorite quests and their least favorite quests and all this stuff happens. So anyways, it's pretty cool.
It is, yeah, and that's why this survey has been a great project. I have just a couple other things here. I got first of all, just David, 2 questions for you. Do you have favorites? Like, what are your favorites attachments and events
for in leadership?
Yes.
My favorite leadership attachment is probably right now. It's probably the Red Book of Westmarch. Okay. I just think it's so much fun, and that there was like one person who said that. And my favorite event, oh man, I don't know. Leadership events are so strange because, like, maybe I'll say this. Timely Aid has made it back onto my list of really awesome events, only because of the Grey Wanderer contract.
Yeah, I think that definitely made it. Yeah, like Grey Wanderer actually gave secrecy like what it needed.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, of course, I love Sneak Attack and AVGT. Very good tale. Like I love those events, but I enjoy Timely Aid and what it does for those decks. So
yeah, okay,
yeah.
And then while we're reviewing things too, I want to point out a couple other events that are just kind of like, weird and odd and kind of neat things that this is kind of like unique to this sphere.
That's good, because this will probably lead into the last question that we have for the survey. So go ahead.
Okay, good. Yeah, just real briefly, Mutual Accord I wanted to mention. It's the action that until the end of the phase, each Gondor card gains Rohan and Rohan gains Gondor. And it's kind of this like weird niche thing, but you can kind of use it to, if you do some type of deck coordination, you can do some, some shenanigan-y things with it, especially with applying if you got one deck that's Rohan and one's Gondor, and you can apply all those Gondor buffs to someone else's characters for a turn.
Yeah. Yep.
Same thing with global Rohan buffs, like astonishing speed. And I also want to mention too, I can't wait till we get to the episode on this one. I don't think we've done Terrible to Behold.
No.
I'd say it's probably down there as far as it has its place in the game, but it's definitely down there as far as I think worst events go.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You know, it was a fun event that I just recently found was Taste It Again. That's a really fun event where you get to ready. Let me look it up so that way I know. Unless Grant, you have it up.
I got it right here.
Taste it again.
Yeah.
I
got it.
Ted's got it up.
Yeah, it's a one cost response. After hero you control defends an attack made by an enemy with an engagement cost higher than your threat, ready that hero, and then until the end of the phase, they get +2 attack while attacking that enemy.
Right. And so, I mean, the art is awesome, and it's really good. Like, it's supposed to channel that scene when Sam is fighting off Shelob. And so you get to defend, but then you get to attack for something else. So that goes really well into a Hobbit deck. So
yeah, there's several heroes that can really benefit that, but yeah, it's definitely like it's got that scene on it from Sam and works, of course, like he's like the best target for it.
Right. I found Treebeard is a good target for that guy. Treebeard hero.
Oh yeah.
If you build the right deck,
a lot of great hero targets, and then the tricky part is dealing with the threat. But a lot of times hobbits pair well with Treebeard.
Right.
And
that's where it goes. Right. My kids gather around the old Christmas tree.
So,
yeah, I actually like where is it? The Captain's Wisdom.
Oh yeah, that was mentioned. Captain's Wisdom and what's the Parting Gifts? There's a couple of those resource finagling.
Probably gaining strength.
Those were mentioned one or two
Gaining strength,
times.
Wealth of Gondor, and Captain's Wisdom all give you resources for cheap events.
Yeah.
Along with like on the Unlikely Friendship, very similar effects.
Right. And so since we're talking about all these like specific, very specific sorts of events for specific scenarios and specific cases, except for the resource generating ones, I asked a question, and this is going to round out the questions about, I don't know, miscellaneous. This week was like the miscellaneous other questions that I had. And I asked the community like what their favorite player deck mechanic was, which is funny because to me that question was pretty like I knew what I was asking, but this is why I'm also not a very good teacher, I guess, because I got a lot of very different answers that I wasn't expecting, because people were like, my favorite player deck mechanic is Sylvans. And like, I guess that's a mechanic because it's like the bouncing in and out of play, the slipperiness of them, but
well, like allies entering play is kind of a mechanic.
Well, allies always enter play, right? I know what you mean, like that.
Right, we know it, yeah.
Right. But so I got not only mechanics, but I also got like thematic stuff with this. So, nonetheless, with the horrible question that I asked, what do you think the most popular player deck mechanic was? And it's actually a mechanic. It's associated with a theme too. Like Sylvans going in and out of play. That's not the answer, but that's it's a mechanic along with that. Grant, do you have an idea?
I have absolutely no idea for this question.
You don't understand the question.
It is a bit open-ended, yeah, as to what you because if you didn't really define mechanic, but I'm thinking the lawns of like player side quests is sort of like a mechanic-y type card.
Side quests were mentioned, but that's not what it was. So I'll just let you know, and then you guys can weigh in on.
How you write tests for your students, David? Don't need to be concerned.
I just usually steal questions from other people, so people who are a lot better at writing questions than I am, because I don't talk English goodly, nor do I scribble English goodly. So
that's impossible.
That's impossible. But anyways, it was the discarding, like Noldor, discarding Noldor, like, Elven Light, or playing from your discard pile, or discarding to get some sort of benefit, something like that. And so, not to be confused with the dwarf mining, which also made the list, which was down. But those are kind of what I had in mind.
Yeah, see, those are part of archetypes.
Right. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, it was just a bad question.
Like, an entering play thing. Yeah.
I see what they were saying, but you people out there didn't answer the question. No, I'm just kidding. It's just my badly worded question. Card draw was number 2 on the list, but I don't know. Grant, what is your favorite thing about building a player deck? Like, what's your favorite mechanic, or what do you like to do, or what's the most fun to see when you're building a deck?
For me personally, I just like to have a deck that functions, because I've built so many decks over the years that just haven't functioned.
I know
the way it's intended, the way I intended it when I first conceptualized the idea. Because obviously, when I first got into the game, I was very focused on the lore aspect of it, and seeing all these characters that, from the lore side of things, were absolutely amazing, to then come and see them and they were a little bit lackluster, and I was a little bit disappointed. Lord Glorfindel, when I first got into the game, I thought he was going to be absolutely phenomenal. And then I found out that he was a little bit less than stellar.
Right.
I mean, he's a good hero, don't get us wrong.
He's killing all them Balrogs in the first age, that guy did.
Exactly. But compared to his card counterpart, he's just not at that level.
Right.
And it was kind of disheartening to see that. But then, obviously, you've got Spirit Glorfindel that does so much work in the fact of being over the top.
Right.
It was quite different to see. But there's a lot of different mechanics going on. So I can't pick one mechanic that I like over the other, because I think it all depends on your personal play style.
Sure. And that's the thing. It's like, what's the reflection? This is more of a reflection on the community in terms of their play style, more than it's a reflection on my lousy question writing. If people like the Noldor discard mechanic, then that's because they play the Noldor discard mechanic and it's fun for them. The Sylvans got 9 votes because people don't necessarily love shuffling their deck every turn, or every 2 seconds, because you have to do that all the time with the Sylvans. So
yeah, you've got the mining mechanic that people.
Oh, that's good fun. I love that.
Yeah, that people enjoy. I mean, I've played the discard mechanic. I've played the mining. I've played the Sylvans. I've played the victory display. The victory display mechanic is very fun, but I don't have a set style that I use more than others, because of the fact it all depends on what I'm going for with my deck at that point in time.
Right. Which way the wind blows.
Exactly.
Right. So, Ted, which way does your wind blow?
North southwest.
North southwest. NSW. Not safe work. Sorry.
Yeah, I always just as far as mechanics go, I really tend to focus on like action efficiency because the game is about actions. Like you got to have enough actions to quests and enough actions to do combat. So finding decks that are action efficient and having cards that ready you, like I feel that is a mechanic of the
And
game.
you didn't guess Path of
Having that
Need?
efficient-
Path of Need gives you all that action efficiency.
As a matter of fact, it does.
Oh,
All in one card.
all in one card. And you know what the biggest downside of Path of Need is, Ted?
Well, you have to have it's probably the same as Steward of Gondor.
Yeah.
And that's where you have to have it in your hand.
Yep. You have to draw it first.
Yeah.
Yep. Well. Well, that wraps up this week of Superlative February, where we talk about the leadership cards, people's least favorites and best favorites. Best favorites, is that even a thing? I didn't ask people what their least favorite card in a sphere was, but I think that's not as not as fun, and
Well,
that doesn't
it's,
honor the game as
how many
much.
how many attachments are there in leadership? We said there was like 50,
50.
right?
There's
So,
Right.
40
So there's 49 of them,
Gondor,
right?
And
Right.
then there's a 49-way tie between worst leadership.
I know.
attachment.
Right. Oh, that's crazy. So, but why don't you guys out there who are listening to this join us again next week as we tackle another sphere and another set of superlative questions, and maybe we'll even talk a little bit about some of the worsts in the game. So join us again next week as we talk about more superlatives. Have a great day, everybody.
Do you love the content? Here's what you can do to stay connected. Become a patron. The money collected through Patreon goes into keeping the lights on here at the podcast. We love our patrons, and you can join at many different levels. Visit patreon.com/cardtalk2018. You can subscribe to us, whether you're watching our YouTube channel or you're listening to us in your favorite podcatcher. Hit the subscribe button to get notifications of all our new episodes. Didn't know we were an audio podcast? Find us by searching Card Talk to get access to our 120 plus regular episodes. Didn't know we were a video channel? Find us by searching Card Talk LOTR LCG on YouTube. And there you can find not only our regular episodes, but you can find our bonus playthroughs and other content related to the game. Want to get a hold of Ted, Grant, or myself? Feel free to email the podcast at cardtalk2018@gmail.com.